Hello there, weary traveler, and welcome to this cozy corner of history. Before we begin our journey back to the brutal winters of medieval times, I wanted to extend a warm greeting to you, dear listener. Whether you're nestled under the covers, ready to drift off to sleep, or simply looking to unwind with some quiet historical storytelling, I'm so glad you've chosen to join me tonight. If you don't mind, I'd love to know where in the world you're tuning in from and what time of day it is for you right now. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know. It's always such a delight to see the diverse community of history enthusiasts gathered here. And if you enjoy this style of calm, immersive tales from the past, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you don't miss the next installment. But for now, let's allow the stresses of the modern world to melt away as we travel back to a time long ago when winter's icy grip held far more peril than most of us could imagine. A time when the changing of the seasons brought not just inconvenience, but genuine fear for survival. Picture yourself in the countryside of medieval Europe. The last leaves have long since fallen from the trees, and the sun hangs low on the horizon, its weak rays doing little to warm the biting chill in the air. Frosty fields crunch underfoot as a breeze carries the first few flurries of snow. Winter is coming, and for the people of this age, that means one thing above all: hardship. The cold seeps in slowly at first, but it will linger for long months to come. The landscape will soon be blanketed in white, the rivers and ponds freezing over into gleaming sheets of ice. In a time before central heating and well-insulated homes, the promise of warmth is a distant dream for all but the wealthiest. But of course, it wasn't always like this. Medieval winters were not always so brutal, so unforgiving. There was a time when the seasons passed in a more predictable rhythm, when the arrival of snow was met with acceptance rather than dread. But then something changed. The climate itself began to shift, ushering in a period that would come to be known as the Little Ice Age. Lasting from the 14th century all the way into the 19th, the Little Ice Age brought colder temperatures and harsher winters than anyone could remember. The reasons for this change are still not fully understood, but its impact was felt across the land. Crops failed, livestock perished, and the icy winds blew ever harder. One of the most famous examples of the Little Ice Age's fury was the Great Frost of 1709. That winter, temperatures plummeted so low that rivers and lakes froze solid. In London, the River Thames became a frozen highway with people setting.
Have you ever wondered how a teenage concubine, born to a merchant family, rose to become the only female emperor in the history of China? This is not just a story of beauty or luck. It is a tale of ruthless ambition, sharp intelligence, and perfect timing. This is the rise of Wu Zetian. The year was 624 CE, during the Tang dynasty, a golden age of art, trade, and power. The capital, Chang'an, was the largest city in the world, glowing with temples, markets, and scholars from every corner of Asia. Yet behind all this prosperity lay a society where women had no place outside their roles as daughters, wives, or mothers. The idea of a woman dreaming of power was unthinkable. Wu Zetian was born into this world as the daughter of a timber merchant. Her family was wealthy, but they were not aristocrats. That meant she had no strong political backing when she entered the palace as a young concubine at just 14 years old. For most girls, this would have been the end of their story. Many concubines spent their lives trapped in luxury but forgotten by the emperor. But Wu Zetian was different. She had something most women of her time never received: an education. She could read, write, and debate with scholars. She didn't waste her time competing for attention with songs or embroidery. Instead, she studied the emperor himself. She learned his moods, his fears, and his needs. While other concubines tried to entertain him, Wu Zetian made herself useful. She became his intellectual companion, his advisor, and eventually, indispensable. Still, palace life was dangerous. Behind the silk curtains were endless rivalries, betrayals, and conspiracies. Wu Zetian saw early on that beauty and favor were temporary. If she wanted real power, she needed to build alliances, gather information, and play the long game. Her chance came when the emperor's son, the crown prince, grew unstable, falling into scandal and rebellion. Many of his allies were executed. Wu Zetian could have fallen with him, but she survived because of her intelligence, her neutrality between rival factions, and the emperor's trust in her. It was her first true test, and she passed. Over time, Wu Zetian extended her influence beyond the emperor, carefully aligning herself with his new heir, Li Ji. When the old emperor's health declined, Wu Zetian was already prepared. She had secured her place in both the current and the future court. Step by step, she climbed higher, from forgotten concubine to empress, and finally, to emperor herself. No other woman in Chinese history would achieve the same. Wu Zetian's rise was not built on luck, but on strategy. She mastered survival in the deadliest game of all, palace politics. She proved that intelligence, ambition, and patience could break even the strongest traditions. And that is how a powerless girl, overlooked by history at birth, became one of the most powerful rulers China had ever known.